Hi, my name is Nicolette Driggs. I'm an accessibility consultant and the business development coordinator here at Disability Advocates of Kent County. Today, we're going to talk about some of those questions you might have. How does inclusive design impact our home design? How does the ADA impact building great communities? We're going to go over the zero-step guidelines from Disability Advocates. And my friend Judy is going to talk about some of the ways that you can incorporate inclusive design in your home. So let's get started. Who is Disability Advocates? Well, we're part of a network of Centers for Independent Living. Every single county and every state in the United States has a Center for Independent Living that serves that state and those counties. We serve Kent, Ionia, Macomb, Mecosta, and Osceola counties. We were founded in 1981, and we have at least 51% of our board and our staff are individuals with disabilities. Our mission is to work alongside people with disabilities as they seek to live self-directed lives and to advocate for accessible and welcoming communities. So the ADA is 35 years old this year in 2025. And while it has huge impacts on how we build our communities, it's based on the bodies, the equipment, and the communities of the 1980s. And so it gives us a great guideline and a place to start with accessibility. But there is so much more we can do to build inclusive spaces and communities. So what is accessibility versus universal design? Our communities are accessible and welcoming to all. But if we have spaces that aren't built accessible or built universally, then we have disability, we disinvite and we diswelcome individuals into those spaces. So what does accessible housing mean? Who is it accessible for? It's accessible for those who have physical disabilities, intellectual and cognitive disabilities, developmental disabilities, emotional disabilities, mental health conditions, and everyone. Whether it's a parent, whether it is a caregiver, those spaces are accessible for all. Is there a market need for this? Absolutely. 1 in 4 Americans have a disability that affects how they interact with their environment and perform their daily tasks. However, only 0.15% of all homes in the US are wheelchair accessible. And the availability of accessible homes is critical to ensure that people with disabilities can live independent lives. There is a huge need for an increase in accessible housing. And this need is only growing with natural aging. And as our baby boomers turn 65 and older, that need will increase even more. We have an aging nation. So for the first time in US history, older adults are projected to outnumber children by 2034. So what's important about aging in place? Well, aging in place allows individuals to stay in their homes longer, which financially, over the cost of their life, will save them money. And 88% of people believe that it's important to age in place. So what is aging in place? That means that individuals 50 years old and older are able to stay in their homes as long as they would like to and as long as they're able to. And 88% of people believe that it's important to age in place. But these considerations to give modifications at home, 15% believe that they have a lot of considerations for modifications, while 21% believe they have no need for modifications. What are some of the top features that are incorporated in aging in place? 58% incorporate grab bars, curbless showers, additional lighting, ADA-compliant toilets, lower vanity heights, and other lower features. Nearly half of all renovating homeowners, about 44%, are preparing for those changes needed within the next 5 years. But the needs of aging household members really remain the top priority, both currently and in the future. What are some key terms that we should know when we're talking about accessibility? First is visitable. Is your space visible? Is somebody in a wheelchair or using a mobility device able to enter and utilize spaces within your home? Is the home adaptable? That means, are you able to change spaces within the first floor of your home to make it accessible? Barrier-free means that there are no barriers or very limited barriers to the entrance and the use of the home. And universal design means that intention has put in to make all spaces as accessible as possible and designing with that future mindset. Visitable homes have 3 core features. First, a zero-step entry, which is an entrance without a step or a threshold. That is, it has an accessible path from the street, sidewalk, or driveway. An accessible path of travel has 0 steps and is at least 36 inches wide and no steeper than 1 to 20, which is a 5% grade. For walkways, or a 1 to 12 for ramp. A ground floor doorway providing 32 inches of clear space and ground floor hallways providing at least 36 inches of clear width. Also, they included an accessible ground floor bathroom, which provides significant depth within the bathroom for a wheelchair user to enter and to close the door. Basic access to a full bathroom is preferable than a half bath.
I'm Judy Siegert. I'm one of the occupational therapists at Disability Advocates for the Home Accessibility Services team. I'd like to talk about a home that is not visitable. This is my home, and this was marketed as an accessible home, which is very funny because if you look at the slide, you can see there are steps to enter this home. My father-in-law can't get into my home. He's 86 and his mobility is not the greatest. He just can't get up those steps. My chair-using friend can't come over for a gathering unless it's outside, and we hope he doesn't have to use the bathroom. So we could talk about the difference between visitable and adaptable. Adaptable spaces may not be readily accessible at first, but they possess certain features that allow improved physical accessibility when needed, such as having that parallel approach at the sinks and the bathroom vanities, having removable base cabinets in case there's more knee room needed for a seated user, and that there's blocking present in the bathroom in certain areas so that you can place a grab bar anywhere. Here's the accessible bathroom that was marketed. So it is largely accessible and sort of adaptable. And I just wanted to point those things out. So the shower door swings in the wrong direction for this to be accessible, but it is adaptable. So that's a great thing. It's not a curbless shower though, and that is not adaptable. And there are not removable base cabinets for someone that needs a little bit more leg room. And there's not enough room for a wheelchair to have a parallel approach to the sink. So visitable, yes. Accessible, sort of. Adaptable, somewhat.
What are the 7 architectural principles of universal design? First is equitable use, followed by flexible use, simple and intuitive use, perceptible information, tolerance for error, low physical effort, and size and space for approach and use.
In 2017, ANSI's standard for the turning radius for a chair increased. As people get larger and chairs get larger, there is a need for a greater turning radius. The circle is expanded to 67 inches in diameter, and only 10 inches of it is permitted to overlap that knee and toe clearance area. For T-shaped turns, the previous T-shaped turn was 60 by 60 square with 12 by 24 cutouts. I'm going to show you some images on the next slide that give 3 options for a T-shaped turn. These are pretty good images to show the difference between the smaller turning radius and the new standard for that larger turning radius. And you can see what a difference that it makes for the toe overlap and the knee space. Here's another great image of the clear space difference and how it's increased from 30 by 48 inches to 30 by 52 inches. Makes a big difference. This slide is a great example of the differences in the clear floor space. And like I mentioned before, the size of mobility devices has gotten larger for some people. And it's really important to have that extra space. This is a good visual. Let's talk about some general considerations for universal design and zero-step guidelines. First of all, color makes a big difference in the space for anybody. Muted colors and natural light tend to decrease stress. It's also important to incorporate surfaces that are not shiny and reflective and have flooring that is a different color than the rest of the surroundings. You don't want to have white flooring, white couches, white walls. That makes for a difficult transition for anybody. Here's a slide that has some examples of simple, intuitive, and flexible controls. Things like a motion sensing pull-down faucet are always helpful. Rocker switches are easier for anybody to use, especially somebody that has their arms full and you can just hit that with your elbow. It's really helpful. We're putting more technology into homes these days. There's remote control thermostats. Everybody's heard of the Nest. Those are really useful for people. Smoke alarms with both visual and auditory cues are helpful for those with visual related difficulties and hearing related difficulties. Smart technology is coming up at lightning speed. We are putting Alexa devices and Alexa Show devices in place to help people with remote control of their lighting, reminders to take medication, remote door unlocking and locking, and a lot of other features that allow for hands-free ability to control their environment.
When talking about designing your home or remodeling, something important to consider is the flooring throughout. In the Home Accessibility Center, we have luxury vinyl plank, and the reason we chose that was because it is water resistant, slip resistant. It's very durable, so depending on what kind of equipment someone is using, whether it's a walker, a wheelchair, or a Hoyer lift, it's going to run smoothly over that. Easy to push, but also not damaging the floors. A lot of people like to add a little warmth to their space, whether it's with carpet or rugs. And so something to be cautious of is we want to keep the flooring all similar and consistent in height. But to add a little warmth, if that is something that you want to do, these low pile carpet squares are a great choice. What's nice about them is they're flexible with the space. They can be moved, rearranged, easy to clean, and very easy to get your device over the edges. So very low profile and easy to navigate over. In the living room, when you are having guests over or your loved ones are there, something to consider is the type of furniture that you purchase. With this chair, we have one that has two arms, so easy to push off of to get on and off. The height is really nice because it's a little bit higher than a standard chair. So again, easy to transfer. The leather is great because it's easy to clean. When buying a couch, something to consider is the height of the couch and the depth of it. So when you have someone that's visiting and if they're a little bit on the shorter side, that they can sit comfortably without having their feet stick out and they can get their feet to the floor. So when you have somebody at your house that is unable to reach a coffee table, there's different pieces of furniture that can be moved so that they can get the table right in front of them. With the clearance under the couch, they're able to get the table underneath, and they can also have their mobility device come right up to the couch. One of the features that we have in the Home Accessibility Center is this table. What's nice about this is that it's easy to move, whether if you have fine motor or limited dexterity, you can either pick it up and move it or use the elbow to lift it and place it where needed. It also has this nice lip, so that way things stay on it and they don't roll off, or if there's a spill, it's kind of contained. But great for when you have guests over that need a little bit of support. We have this dining room table, and the reason that we chose this one is it's not a pedestal, which those styles tend to tip very easily. This style has the offset legs, so there's a lot of clearance for someone that is a wheelchair user, can get right up underneath. The corners are rounded, so it's much safer to reduce injury. We have various types of chairs. A lot of them are the rounded again, so there's no sharp corners. It's nice to have the different heights, the different styles. So this one has arms, which is nice and makes it much easier to transfer on and off of, whereas this one here has a nice seat height, easy to transfer from.
Let's talk a little bit about the garage and home entrance. Here you can see a garage that has a zero-step entry into the home. The garage floor is sloped, and this allows for water to roll out of the garage and for there to be no concerns with water pooling at the sill plate and entering the home.
I'm going to tell you a secret. You do not have to have a step at the front door. There's lots of different ways that front doors can be approached without having that step there. For example, you could do something like landscaping or rampscaping as it's called. And what that is you design the landscaping and foliage at a gradual slope up to the front door. Also making sure that those doors are at least 36 inches wide. It's also important to consider the lighting that is around the front door. Making sure that you have side lighting. That helps individuals with low vision or who are using mobility devices like wheelchairs be able to access their homes and safely get into them. Once they're in the home, we need to think about considerations like the width of hallways. Hallways should be at least 42 inches wide in order for all types of mobility devices to be able to access those hallways. And interior doors should also be about 36 inches wide or wider to be able to make sure that people can get in and out of each room of the home.
One of the universal design principles that you need to consider is to change out your door handles. Twist knobs are difficult for most people, and they have multiple locks often where you've got the deadbolt or you've got the chain with the little knobby thing that you have to put in there. That's hard for anybody. It's helpful to switch out those type of doorknobs with a lever door handle or a key card system. Makes it a lot easier for everybody. Let's talk about some of the considerations for the kitchen and some appliances. Variable height countertops are one of the things to consider in your kitchen. A kitchen can be designed to have a countertop that is low with some knee space for a seated user, or someone that is taller by nature and they can have a higher countertop, or you can have a mixture of both. You can add pull-out countertops at variable levels of height for a seated user or anybody else with a mobility device, but it's really important to have that universal design principle of variable height countertops. Take a look at this slide. This is one of our consumers that we made some changes in her kitchen for her, and she's just thrilled with the increased access it created. In the before shot, you can see that she can't reach her sink. She can't reach her faucet control. She has no knee clearance for her seated power mobility device. And you can see the changes that we made on the right. She can roll up underneath that sink. She can reach her faucet, and she is really happy with the simple change. Here's some other considerations for the kitchen. Easy to reach pull-out drawers. Cabinets that you have to bend down and reach into are a thing of the past. Those pull-out drawers are accessible for everyone. Here's some more examples of some pull-out drawers and pull-out shelves. Makes it really easy for people to access things for everyone. Look at the bottom freezer drawers there that are in the lower cabinet. That won't work for everybody. It depends on the individual's needs, but for a seated user, these are really ideal. Glass front cabinets make it easy to find items. Sometimes people with memory issues are not able to remember where things are stored. Glass front cabinets make it really easy to locate things. Some other options, a little lower cost, are mesh front on a pantry or someplace to hang things where they're visible at all times. Refrigerators, generally a bottom freezer space is easier to access for people that are using a wheelchair or another mobility device. This isn't going to work for everyone. For example, somebody with a back issue is not going to enjoy having to bend over all the time. And that's where we like the side-by-side, freezer full length on one side and the other. But it depends on the individual's needs. Just some things to consider for universal design. Stoves and ovens, induction cooktops are really nice. This is a great way to prevent burns. The unit is only hot when the induction cookware is on the burner, and when they're removed, the heat dissipates rather quickly. We recommend placing stove controls on the front of the oven so that you're not reaching across that hot burner to turn your burner off. The kitchen is one of the places in your home that you need to include some universal design properties too. Let's talk about this refrigerator, for example. It's common to recommend a bottom freezer, especially for a seated user because of the ease of access. That's not going to work for everybody. Somebody with a back issue is not going to enjoy bending all the way over at the bottom there to get items out. But a lot of times that bottom freezer works out really well. Let's talk about the way that you open your cabinets and your drawers in your kitchen. Typically, we recommend these D handles because they are easy to access for most people. It's easy to slide your hand in and out of there, or if you have other needs, you can easily, open these with a tool. They're just much easier to open than the type of drawers that have no handles or the knobs that require that pinch or grip. Really nice to have that adaptation. If you take a look around in this space, you'll notice some of the lighting that we have here. The task lighting is really important in a kitchen so that light is distributed evenly. We generally do not recommend track lighting because track lighting causes puddling of light and makes it a little harder for the user to have adequate light for tasks in the kitchen. Also, we always recommend natural source of light whenever possible. If there's a window in the kitchen that can bring in natural light, that's especially helpful for somebody with neurosensory issues, and everybody likes daylight in their kitchen, so that's nice. You can see here that we have some pendant lighting in place, and that is a nice alternative way to light some of the space. You can see here that these are clear with an exposed light bulb. That's not going to work for everybody. It's a little bit harsh for some individuals that might be overstimulated by that. One of the ways that you can take care of that is, in any lighting, is to have an adjustable dimmer switch for any type of lighting so that you can bring it down for those that like the lower light and bring it way up for those that need more light. When choosing a countertop, make sure that you're taking into account how much glare is coming from that countertop. You want one with less glare so that there's less light reflecting off of that. Here we have a really beautiful countertop. It has the speckles in it, which are really beautiful, great design feature, but some people find those speckles confusing if they have some visual deficits, and they might confuse this with crumbs or have some depth perception issues. So that's something to keep in mind when you're choosing your countertops. For a lot of people, it's recommended to have a backsplash that is a different color than the workspace, the top itself, because it gives good contrast. For other people, that's not so much of a concern. It's just something to consider when you're designing, universal design. We do recommend having at least one cabinet with a glass front so that frequently used items can be stored here that are easy to see. This is especially helpful for somebody who has memory deficits and is always looking for the sugar. Then you can just put it right there where you can see it. Take a look at this drawer. The organization in this drawer is something that's really helpful when considering universal design. It's easy to see all of your items here. They're easy to access. This diagonal organizational tray that's part of this unit is clean and easy to modify as well. And here's another example of something like that. It's really great now that pots and pans can be stored in drawers, or plates can be stored in drawers instead of the typical plates are way up high in the cupboard and somebody has to get them down for you. These pegs can be moved easily to accommodate any size pan, plate, bowl, what have you. And this kind of a situation is a great thing especially for a seated user or somebody with limited reach. Very easy to modify. Take a look at these pull-out shelves that are a nice accessible feature. And these are easily adapted to different depth shelves and different heights. And, you have this indoor storage. Again, you can get so much right here within very easy reach. And this is a popular addition to a kitchen, is the trash in the pull-out drawer. Here's another really great accessible unit that can be added. This is a pull-down shelf that is very easy to pull down so that someone with limited reach can access frequently used items with just a simple pull down. There are tools available to allow a seated user to be able to reach that and pull it up and down easily. It's hydraulic, goes back on its own. I wanted to talk for a minute about these little signs that we have posted kind of throughout the Home Accessibility Center here at Disability Advocates. These are all things that are referencing some of the zero-step guidelines by number and by option. And so that's a really helpful thing, especially if you're a builder or designer that's really focusing in on which of these concepts really relate to the zero-step guidelines. It'll point them right out to you. For example, we have this sink that demonstrates that 27-inch height of knee space that's required to clear a sink for a seated user. This is a great example of it. It's also a popular, aesthetically pleasing sink. It's kind of that farmhouse style. This is a nice sink. It's got that great depth if you need it here, but then there's a shelf right here, so a seated user can do a lot of their work, right here. This displays a motion-activated faucet. That's great for hands-free, but not everybody likes that, so it's easily converted to turn off. We recommend these Swan-type faucets with the pull-down sprayer because they require almost no dexterity to use and pretty easy to use. There are other options for faucets with the controls located in the front as well. There's just a lot of options for that. This is a really popular item. This is a dishwasher drawer. These are really helpful for somebody with an assistive device or a seated user. It's not very deep, so it's also really nice for someone with back issues. You don't have to bend very far. These come in a variety of depths, and some are just a little shallow drawer. Others are these kind of medium drawers. We've seen it before where somebody's had one of these and then a shallow drawer right next to it. A lot of great options for that dishwasher drawer. Here in the Home Accessibility Center, we have this induction cooktop. This is a great safety feature to prevent accidental burning because the surface is only hot when the induction pans are placed on it. This greatly reduces the risk of being burnt. I want to point out that this is just a dummy unit. There's no power hooked up to it because you would never want to install a cooking surface with an outlet right behind it. But that was just something that we couldn't work around here. We also want to recommend that one of the zero-step guidelines is to have the stove controls in the front. So if you don't have this type of a unit and you just have a stove, you want to have those controls in the front so somebody's not reaching across that hot surface to turn a burner off. We've all heard those stories of somebody catching their sleeve on fire in a hot burner. It's important that you include a lot of free counter space in between your cooking surface and your sink and your oven so that there's room to transfer items as needed and to kind of have all that prep space located in a condensed area. Here you can note that we have this counter space here for this, what could be a microwave, but also this is a toaster oven. And that's really accessible for a lot of people to be able to get right to their oven right there on the countertop. Take a look at this space underneath the counter. This is really helpful for a seated user to be able to roll up under the counter and have great access to their prep space. This is an oven that's installed in the wall, which is a great universal design feature because the oven can be placed at any height for any user. Someone that is of small stature can put this lower. Someone that's very high can put it up higher. If you're really fancy, you can have two of them. This is a really nice stove that has a very easy to pull out shelving. It's not like the ones that we've had in our house for many, many years where the things don't pull out easily. This unit also comes with a door that opens from the side. It depends on the user, but sometimes that's a lot more accessible to be able to have it open from the side and have a shelf that pulls out underneath it, allows the seated user to transfer their hot dish from that shelf right onto that free counter space that I mentioned and, be able to slide it over as needed. Another universal design principle is to have different counter heights available in your kitchen so that those of different heights or those that are seated users all have a workable space to work on. This is a great example of that. There's a couple different ways you can design that, more than a couple. Here's something to remember is the placement of an outlet. Outlets typically are very low to the ground, very hard to access, and a universal design principle is to place the outlets at an accessible height. Here's a great example of usable space underneath our different height countertops. This is great for a seated user to be able to get right up underneath there and access what they're working on. right up close to them. Here at the Home Accessibility Center, we have our microwave installed in the lower cabinet like this, and this is great for a seated user or somebody with limited reach that doesn't want to go up overhead. We do not recommend placing the microwave over the stove like has been done for many, many years. It's just a really dangerous design principle where people have to reach up over, possibly hot items, boiling water just to get into the microwave. It's just a bad idea. This isn't going to work for everybody. This is great for a seated user, not for somebody with a back issue, but it's just something to be able to consider when you're making your design changes. Here in the Home Accessibility Center, we have some examples of different height toe kicks. In the kitchen, this is really important for somebody with a mobility device that has footrests that might, require a little bit more clearance. So there's this one, and, this is really similar. And then this is more of a traditional toe kick. And it's nice to have that option to take a look at when you're designing your universal home. Front-loading washers and dryers. This slide shows a platform that was built underneath the washer and dryer to make them more accessible. These days, most front-loading washers and dryers come with a platform, a couple different heights of platforms, so that you can place the units on those and be able to access them easier. Let's talk about the bathroom. This is an occupational therapist area of specialty. Let's talk about that blocking that we mentioned a little bit earlier. We recommend placing blocking around a new shower construction all the way around the shower and potentially in the hallway, just for placement of future grab bars. I'm not talking floor to ceiling blocking, but kind of that midsection where anybody tends to reach. That way, in the future, if a need changes, you've got that blocking in place and you can install that grab bar so that it's where you need it in the future. Not everybody is going to need that grab bar placed at that height on the right when you exit the shower. Somebody has a different need. They're going to need that somewhere else. And consider future needs for a ceiling lift as well. If you have the ability to put some of that extra reinforcement in your ceiling, typically above where a bed would be, go ahead and put that in. And then when you need a ceiling lift, if you need one, you've got that reinforcement there for that.
I'll bring attention to the grab bar wall. It highlights that grab bars come in various sizes, colors, and lengths. They don't have to stick out and have a medical look. You can have the stability of a grab bar while it blends beautifully into any environment and aesthetic. We have on display a grab bar that reacts to motion and another one that activates when it becomes dark, acting as a nightlight for those that get up and use the restroom at night. Grab bars also come with a textured surface that enhances your ability to grip, especially if placed in areas such as a shower. The benefit of a skilled occupational therapy assessment is determining the best fit and placement for grab bars. If not installed properly, you run the risk of pulling the grab bar right out of the wall, resulting in potential falling injury. A perfect example of a grab bar that blends beautifully and is hidden in the environment is the one that you see on the wall. It acts as a toilet paper holder as well as a grab bar. Next to it, you'll see a grab bar that can pull away from the wall and down. It's perfect and ideal for situations where the toilet is close to the shower or maybe you have limited space available. You'll see that we have two toilets on display. One is a comfort level toilet, which measures 17 to 19 inches tall from the ground to the rim of the toilet, excluding the seat itself. Next to it, we have a toilet that is 15 inches tall, which we commonly see in many of the homes that we visit. A few common situations we as occupational therapists encounter are people demonstrating difficulty with standing up from the toilet due to the toilet being too low or not having any arm support. Some simple, cost-effective solutions are installing toilet safety rails and toilet risers. There are many different styles. We have two on display today. The first that you'll see with the gray handles comes in two different styles: a standard, which can accommodate 330 pounds, and a bariatric style that can accommodate up to 520 pounds. This style can be easily adjusted and attached to the toilet, thereby promoting the safety and stability of the user, preventing slipping and falling. It can easily be adjusted in height, width, and length to be the perfect fit for every toilet. Armrests can be adjusted forwards and backwards for more comfortable support. There is no installation or tools required. The structure is easy to adjust. It is recommended for elderly, pregnant women, and people with reduced mobility. Next to it, we have the Kohler Heightened toilet seat on display. It adds 3 inches of height, and it blends naturally into the aesthetic of the bathroom. It doesn't look like a typical riser on the toilet. The wood look of the handles is very aesthetically pleasing, and they can move back, allowing for space and weight shifting when someone is wiping. We have a great visual of what a turning radius should be. According to the American National Standards Institute, or ANSI, there should be a 67-inch diameter circle for accessible spaces like a bathroom or kitchen. Here we have on display what it looks like underneath a grab bar. We have on display a wall reinforcement. Walls shall be reinforced with 2x blocking concealed in the wall for future grab bar placement around toilets, bathtubs, showers, and for slide bar and handheld showers. So if you are doing a remodel, or if you're just building from the ground up, it's very important to have this blocking going all around the shower so that if there is a need, you can install the grab bars wherever is needed. These are another example of grab bars that provide hand support, but also can act as a soap holder or shampoo or conditioner holder, and it blends right into the environment.
Other considerations for universal design in the bathroom are a walk-in or roll-in shower, or sometimes the low threshold shower. We as occupational therapists prefer that roll-in shower where there's no lip to step over at all, so that if there's a future need, it can be accessed by a seated user in a rolling shower chair. And the larger size of those walk-in showers also give enough room for a caregiver to be present in the shower with an individual if they need a helper in there to help them with bathing. A handheld shower head is essential, and this, allows for the individual to place that handheld shower anywhere that they need it with a suction cup holder, and then it's accessible for them. And we don't use the built-in shower seats really because they tend to be away from where the controls are in the shower, although you can, place the controls in an offset manner. But typically you want that flexibility that you get with a shower chair because they're so customizable. They can be different widths, heights, have a back, not have a back, have a drop arm. And so we don't tend to use those built-in shower seats. They turn into a shampoo shelf eventually. Here's an example of offset controls in a tub shower. This allows either a caregiver or even the user to be able to turn the faucets on without having to reach halfway across the bathtub to do that. This is an example of one of our conversions that we did. You can see here before, the consumer did a great job of trying to make the bathroom accessible, got that tub transfer bench in place, and they can, transfer that way. But it was starting to become too difficult for them to even, swing their legs over the tub after they were seated. So we worked with one of our community partners, and we have this nice roll-in shower where she uses the same shower chair, but it's much more accessible for her. And look at the placement of the grab bars. Pretty standard placement, but those were measured exactly for her, and that blocking was in place so they could be placed wherever she needed them. Toilet height. The Comfort Height toilet is a great invention. A lot of the homes that we see today have the toilets from the past that are very, very low. People were shorter and things were different back then. The Comfort Height toilet is 17 inches high. For some people, that's too high and they need a standard height toilet. Or sometimes the comfort height toilet is not high enough, and you can modify that with any products that are on the market. Here on the left, you can see it's the Heightened toilet riser. It's very nice to look at. And there are a couple different options for toilet safety frames. The one pictured is a very sturdy option, but there are many other options that are very aesthetically pleasing. This is a nice, easy to approach bowl-shaped sink. You can see lots of leg room, so this is accessible for anyone.
This area here is our extra wide hallway. We recommend a hallway to be at least 42 inches wide. This one is extra wide. It measures just under 5 foot, but you can see it's not only spacious, but it also promotes easy traffic flow, so two people can easily pass by without bumping into each other. If you're using a wheelchair or a mobility device, you could easily navigate the space without bumping into the wall. Here, this rail provides visual balance by breaking up the upper and lower sections of the wall, but then also providing a sturdy surface for finger touch. So this could be helpful for someone who maybe isn't using a mobility device yet, but just needs that touch for balance. And then later, if needed, an actual handrail could be easily attached to this to provide even more support. So this is our nice big roll-in shower. We recommend a minimum of 36 by 36. This one's a little larger at 4.5 feet by 4 feet. And you can see it's nice and big to fit a wheeled shower chair in, as well as a caregiver who might be assisting with bathing. The surface is made of acrylic, so it's easy to keep clean. We have our curved shower curtain rod here to make it feel even more spacious by providing the extra elbow room so that the curtain doesn't stick to your body. The hand controls here are offset, so someone can easily set the water temperature outside of the shower without getting wet. And they're reachable from either a standing height or a seated height. We have our handheld shower on an adjustable sliding bar, so you can adjust it low for someone who might be using it in a seated position, or maybe a child, and easily move it up to a taller position for someone who is taller. It's easily removed with an on-off switch on the handle so that you can pause the water while you're soaping up. Can also use it to bathe a pet or maybe a child, as well as cleaning the unit itself. We have shelves at a height that is easily reached from seated or standing to store your shampoo and conditioner, and it can easily be reached without having to bend over. And one thing you'll notice is that we don't have a molded seat or a fold-up seat in the shower space. We recommend a freestanding shower chair because that provides the most flexibility for the user, so they can adjust the height to what they need. It can be placed at whatever distance from the hand controls that's needed, and then it can also be easily removed when not in use. This is our bathroom, and we have a nice wide doorway of 34 inches, which is the minimum that we recommend. And as you come in, you can see this is a pretty average sized bathroom. It's about 8 by 5, and you can tell that there is not much room to navigate a mobility device like a wheelchair or a walker. But look what happens if you just add less than 2 feet of space. Now we have all of this space here to navigate a wheelchair or a mobility device. So if you had an extra bedroom, maybe that's not being used, or a closet or something that you could take the space out of if you are remodeling, it really does open up a pretty standard sized bathroom to give you some space to navigate a mobility device. Another thing that you could do in here to create a little bit more space would be to remove the vanity and install a wall mount sink. That would give you some knee and foot clearance to navigate a little bit easier in here with a mobility device. We chose a single handle faucet, which can be operated with minimal effort. You can operate it with one hand, with a closed fist, or even your wrist. And our mirror here has a tilt option, so it can be tilted to provide a clear reflection to any height. We also have our smart bulb light fixtures. It's important to select bright non-glare lighting. Like I said, these are smart light bulbs, so we have them connected to our Alexa for voice operation. Alexa, turn bathroom light off. Alexa, turn bathroom light on. Grab bars are an important safety feature to have in the bathroom, and something that we're seeing more of is dual purpose grab bars. So they're safe and efficient, but then they also don't compromise your decor. So here we have a grab bar that also functions as a toilet paper holder, and we have a grab bar here that also functions as a towel rack. This grab bar is a pull down grab bar. Therese demonstrated a different style of one, which can be used to help someone with toilet transfers on and off the toilet, but then it can also be helpful for transferring into and out of the bathtub, and then it can effortlessly be pushed up out of the way when it's not needed. This is a 36-inch length grab bar, and we like the long length because it's useful to someone of any height wherever they're grabbing. And then down there, on the tub wall, we have one that's a little bit lower. It can be used with a shower chair, but then it also could be helpful for someone who might be soaking in the tub, and that can be helpful to help with those types of transfers. This is a tub cut, and so you can see that part of the tub wall has been removed to create a step into the tub. And this can be helpful for some. It's not for everybody. It basically turns your bathtub into a step-in shower. This is a tub transfer bench, which can be really helpful for someone who has difficulty stepping up over the tub wall. So what one would do is you sit on the edge, you swing your legs through, and you can see this is tight, but this is kind of what we have to deal with in bathrooms. Swing your other leg over, then you kind of slide in, and you can take your shower this way. This is a custom or a shower curtain that is designed for this type of bench, in that it has slits in it. And so these would slide right in between the slot here to prevent water from getting on the floor when you're bathing. So now when you're exiting the tub, you have a lot less space to clear. Get your legs out, and I can use my bar to kind of help me stand up. Next up, we have our Comfort Height toilet. This is 17 inches from seat to floor. This is our electric bidet seat attachment. Features include a heated seat, warm water, a dryer, and remote operation. A bidet offers superior hygiene, and it's great for people with certain medical conditions, and it can be very helpful to a caregiver who might be helping with toileting. And the remote operation offers enhanced accessibility for those who might have limited reach range. One thing that is important to think about if you are building or remodeling is to install an electrical outlet at the base of the toilet. This allows for an electric bidet to be installed in the future if needed.
So let's move into bedroom considerations. Something that I find to be difficult is being able to reach higher cabinets and rods in closets. So what's important is to have things like adjustable shelves and other reachable and adjustable storage units. Making sure that the windows and curtains or blind controls are easy to reach from sitting or standing.
The Murphy bed provides a convertible option for a space that you want to maybe change into like a different use along the way. It's easy to push up and then fold into the wall. That way you can kind of have a space for other things that you may want to use this area for. Rope on this to kind of make it easier for someone. And then you have your bed available. And again, if you wanted to use this space for something else, you can simply push it up with minimal effort, and it stores safely. And look how much space you have now. And if you have somebody who needs assistance, this is a transfer pole. What's nice about this is it's actually tension reinforced, so you don't have to screw it to the floor or the ceiling. And this can also be shifted around depending on where you need that support. And this is another nice feature that someone could add to their closet. This is a wardrobe lift. It allows for a seated user to pull down and retrieve the items and bring them close to them. You can push it back up into place. And here we have a pull-out ironing board. What's nice about this is that it's pretty easily accessible for a standing user. It's like waist height for most folks. That makes it easy for them to use. And it also has a small footprint. That way you can fold it up and store it in this area. We've got different options of slide racks here for storage purposes. You could store like your purses, socks, underwear. You could also have a rack that easily pulls out that can store your shoes in it and slides back in. And then again, just a different idea for how to design like a wardrobe space. Again, just having drawers so you're bringing the items close to you, whether you're a person that can stand and retrieve things, or if you are a seated user, it can make it just less effortful to get your items for your clothes each morning along the way.
But isn't universal design substantially more expensive? It's not. Minimal cost to incorporate universal design features in a new home. If you can look at the chart, you can see that our friends at Heartland Builders broke it down for us. And the total additional costs are around $2,000 to $3,000. And in the design scheme, that's not that much. But the renovation costs can beat the average annual costs of long-term care. Imagine you spent that $2,000 to $3,000 to modify your home to make it accessible. Now, checking out this chart, if you see the value in that versus how much would be spent in home care, assisted living type care, or a nursing home. And those rates are today and what the projections are in the future. However, that cost that you spent won't change substantially if you've made the right modifications. What are some key takeaways? Residential inclusive design, when done well, is in demand. It's beautiful. It doesn't have to look medical. There's lots of different types of grab bars and other accessible features that can be done in a beautiful way. It saves you cost. It's not cost draining. When you design to accommodate for everyone, you take all abilities into consideration. One thing we have that we love to share is our Universal Design Standards and Zero-Step Guidelines checklist. This simple checklist you can use to go through your home or the new home that you're building and see what modifications and what things that you can do to make your home as accessible as possible. So as you're reviewing those zero-step guidelines, we would love to invite you to come in and check out our Accessibility Center. We have spaces like the kitchen behind me, as well as bathrooms and bedroom setups to really give you an idea of what accessibility can look like in your space. As you can see, we've got showers, we've got the bedroom and the kitchen setup to really show you different ways that you can incorporate accessibility into your space. If you have any questions or want to learn more, please reach out to us. We would love to give you a tour and help you on your journey to making sure that the spaces you're building are accessible for all people.